Put me down on that one.
Okay.
Which video is that?
The Sim Magic one. That Chinese direct drive wheel.
Gotcha.
Did you see the second video though?
Yeah, but I mean, um, the failure part. That's not, that's happened with Fanatec too.
True.
So, but the part about the customer service is the most important part of that video.
And the warranty. Or the lack thereof.
Which is what you get when you're dealing with basically Chinese companies.
All right, so I'm ready. We're streaming this. I'm gonna try something new here. So I thought I had my video card sold, and then the guy was supposed to, like, he's like, I'm on my way. And then nothing.
That sucks. I'm trying to see if I can squeeze in IRLP on here anywhere on this uniform, or if I want to leave it just to Flossy only.
Hmm.
I like that angled idea that you had.
Yeah, I think it came out pretty good what you did.
And then I've got the full logo on the back.
Yeah, that worked out. Well, I'm gonna check my phone to see what's our guest. Okay, there he is. We grab him.
There he is.
Hey,
Yep.
hey, Justin.
Good afternoon.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Hey, I just sent a link in TeamSpeak chat. See if you can get that. That's the script where you can follow along. And
All right, sounds good.
yeah, so you can just so the way it works is when we start, it's kind of you and me. We're going to go through a Q&A. I'm going to talk first about you as an iRacer and your iRacing, and then we're going to talk about what you do, professionally and that kind of thing, writing, journalism, what you're doing with the Peak series and that kind of thing. And then as far as how long you want to stay on, there's several options. So I'll tell you. So option A, stay through the Q&A, obviously, and then the Peak stuff, all the weekly news. Option B, stay for the 24-hour stuff, which is a big story thereafter, the Peak stuff, and then bail after that. Or option C, stay for the whole show, which is usually like an hour and a half, and then jump in on any topic you can jump in on. So it's up to you how long you want to stay. So I don't know what your schedule is, but.
Well, I am talking to you from my boss's office right now. I had to take lunch break to do this, so I unfortunately can only do the shortest possible one.
Okay, so we'll do the Q&A, and we'll hit on the weekly Peak stuff, which is the first section in the green, and then we'll get you out after that.
Sounds good.
Okay. And then, are we waiting for anyone else?
Nope.
Okay, so you want to do backup record, David, then I'll start.
User in your channel started recording.
Rolling.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall,
Hello, hello.
Will Gibson,
Hey, how's it going?
and special guest Justin Melillo.
Howdy.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming on. Well, let's get to know you, Justin Melillo. Thanks for coming on. We see you writing about iRacing a lot, and we're going to talk about that. But first, we want to hear about when did you first hear the word iRacing, and what did you do about it?
Well, I've been sim racing for pretty much my entire life, which is 29 and a half years at this point. I started out back on the old Papyrus games, NASCAR Racing 2, all that. And when iRacing was announced, I, wanted to get involved with it right away. So I've actually been on the iRacing service since 2009 when, I was finally able to pay for an account. And I've been on and off with iRacing. But it's incredible where it started and where it's come to at this point.
Yeah, I see on your profile 10-year badge, and so you've been around since the early days, obviously. Looking at your official racing stats, 8.7% is your winning overall percentage in oval. Not too bad. That's a pretty good number.
Well, I mean, if I raced more, it'd probably be lower, honestly.
Right.
A majority of my starts came back when I was in college and I was able to race more freely, and I didn't have a job, or at this point 4 jobs. So it's definitely it's my iRacing career isn't really nothing to look at, but it's definitely a fun hobby and fun to do.
Okay. Now, I saw one social media post where you had a steering wheel in your trunk of your car and you were like in a race remotely. So what do you use for hardware when you do race?
I've been a Logitech user pretty much my entire sim racing career. I started out with a Logitech Momo well back in the day and graduated to a G25. Now I'm using a G20. I'm switching on and off between a G27 and a G29. I've got an Abuto seat that I use, and I've also got a Samsung 49-inch curved monitor that I like to use, and I keep a wheel in my trunk just in case, because you never know when a race will break out.
Well, absolutely. That's awesome. And that monitor, man, I'm kind of envious. That's a 49-inch Samsung. That's a good one.
Yeah, I ended up getting that. I made a weather-related bet at Dover earlier last season, and unfortunately, I lost the bet, but I also won the bet and ended up making that purchase that weekend. So it was definitely a good investment, and it's very awesome. I do enjoy that monitor. I used to have triples before, but the bezels always kind of messed me up, and I can never align them properly. Now I've just got one monitor, and it works for me.
All right, very good. So let's talk real life. What do you do for a job? I know I see you writing for the racingexperts.com, I believe it is, and you're obviously following the series formerly known as the Peak Series. You're writing a lot of material about them, and we actually get a lot of the information we talk about that series directly from what you're writing. So we do appreciate that, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring you in to let you talk about that a bit. So tell us what you're doing there.
So yeah, I've been writing for the Racing Experts since 2014. My editor-in-chief is Dominic Aragon, and we actually met through sim racing. We were racing in a series um, back in 2010, 2011 together, and we made a friendship there. And he started up the Racing Experts around the same time, and I was going to school for print journalism. I ended up graduating, of course, and I was kind of like not sure where I wanted to go with my writing, but I talked to Dominic in, I want to say, 2013, and we hit it off on bringing me in to the fold, and I started writing for the Racing Experts, like I said, in 2014. I've been a credentialed member of the NASCAR media since 2015. They gave me a hard card last year, which was pretty incredible, and I'll be wearing that again this year. Trying to go to as many races as I can. In real life, I think I went to 12 races last year, which was the most I'd ever done, and I do that around working two full-time jobs normally, which one of them I'm at currently on break talking to you guys. So I got a lot of busy, I got a busy lifestyle going on, but I love doing what I do. I love writing, and I love being able to cover the sport that I love, which is NASCAR.
Now, when you go to the tracks like that, are you writing about NASCAR, or what's the angle there? Are you going as a journalist, or going as a fan?
No, I'm going as a journalist. I'm in the media center every weekend that I go. Like I said, I've been going to the track since 2015 for TRE. So I get all credentialed up. I get all dressed up, and I get to go and participate in the media activities at the racetracks. I've been to Daytona a couple times, Talladega, Homestead finales a couple of times, Bristol, and then my home tracks like Pocono I go every year, and Dover and New Hampshire. And it really is a neat experience getting to go to these racetracks. I before I started writing for the Racing Experts, I'd go as a fan, and it's a completely different experience. Switching sides there, and being a member of the media, because it's a lot more formal. You can't go there, you can't go drinking, you can't go partying. You get to watch other people have that fun. You get to watch them experience what's going on, and watch them celebrate, and the jubilations of victory for the drivers that win. It's really cool to be on the media side, and it's for me. I want to be at the racetrack every weekend, whether I'm riding or whatever. And this is a way for me to both be at the racetrack and do something that I enjoy doing.
Absolutely, and to hang out with Jenna Fryer and Bob Pockras and Jeff Gluck and all those media people, I bet it's a blast.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's definitely it's a little intimidating being in the same room as some of my journalism heroes like that. And I've gotten to have a couple conversations with Bob at the track, which is pretty cool. I wouldn't say I definitely wouldn't say I hang out with them or anything like that, just because they've got their own thing that they've got to do, and whatnot. I tend to hang out more with the journalists that are in my age bracket. Guys that are also writing for TRE, guys that are writing for frontstretch.com, or around that age group. I know Kicking the Tires, Jerry Jordan very well, which is pretty cool, and whatnot. So it's definitely it is cool to be in the same grouping as all those journalists that you mentioned, and I hope to one day be, I wouldn't say on their level, but a respected member of the media at one point in my career.
Well, it's good to see you younger guys out there, because the media is really the media pool there has really taken a hit over the last few years and dwindled down to literally almost nothing. And so it's good to see TRE investing and getting you guys out there. So that's great. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about iRacing, the Peak Series there's a series formerly known as Peak, the 4D drivers. They brought him into Charlotte to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You were there to report on it, get some interviews and stuff. Boy, that's something. What do you think about what NASCAR is doing with the Peak Series? Are they going in the right direction? What do you think?
It was an absolutely incredible experience in Charlotte during the media days that they had there. I was so lucky to get the invite to be able to go, and just watching. I think it was 38 of the 40 were able to make the trip of the roster for this year's formerly known as Peak Series. I think right now they're kind of calling it the iRacing World Championship Series, and until they possibly might announce a series sponsor. I don't really know the full details on that, and I really can't comment on it. But it was really neat getting to watch these guys who have all competed against each other for years go out and finally put a name to a voice, or a face to a voice, and I just, it was watching them all interact with one another, and nobody really having a bad time. Everybody had a smile on their face, and they got to go and do a lot of what the actual NASCAR Cup Series drivers would do during their media tour. They went and they got headshots. They got to have sit down interviews with people like myself and Chris Leone, and then some other people from NASCAR Productions also. They went and they got some media training. They got some. I believe they ended up having a competition meeting with the director of the series. So it was an incredible 2 days to witness and see them take part in. And I really think that it was long overdue for this series, because it's going into its 11th season, and just seeing the pickup from where it was back in 2010 when it first started to where it went to last year with the teams coming in. It is really cool to see, and I hope they do continue it.
Yeah, and I think the big growth recently is NBC, and obviously they're taking headshots, like you said. They're taking intro and outro videos to go in and out of commercials of these drivers' faces and stuff. It's pretty obvious that NBC is gearing up to broadcast at least one, or if not all, of these races. One of our listener questions on social media, John Kinney, he asked, do you think or know if any of the TV broadcasts of the regular season races will happen this year?
I do think that there will be some TV broadcasts this year. I don't think it will be the entire season. They did pass around a schedule to the drivers during the media days, that was kind of kept on the down low and kind of hidden from the media, like people like me. And I did happen to catch a glimpse of it, and I do think that they are gearing up to have maybe a couple of races that are going to be broadcasted on NBC. I'm not sure the details on that, and I can't wait until the announcement comes out for it. But from what I did see, it did look like it was going to be a pretty incredible schedule, and that they definitely were going to be ramping up their coverage this year for sure.
That's awesome, because it went so well this last year in 2019 with what NBC did with, all the people involved, like Steve Letarte, helping call the races at the end there, and it just was really gelling, and so very good. Let's keep going. Mason Stiver, another listener, asked, what title does iRacing want us to call the former Peak Series? Well, I guess you said that already.
Yeah, right now, I've been calling it the eNASCAR iRacing World Championship Series, and that's what I've seen a lot of the members in iRacing calling it as well. So for right now, that's what it is. The Peak unfortunately didn't re-up for the 2020 season, but they are. I believe they are going to have a new sponsor step into that area. They just haven't announced it yet.
Yeah, I think even if there wasn't a sponsor, it seems like to me that NASCAR is committed. You know what I mean? And like you said, to bring them to the Hall of Fame, to have the competition meeting, to get the the media that they need, the bits for the videos and the different social media things that they need. They're all in, aren't they?
It does seem that way. And it was really cool because they did something similar for the NASCAR Heat drivers last year. So I guess more or less the Heat media days that they had kind of ramped up to what we got for the iRacing guys. Where for Heat they ended up bringing, I think there were a total of 28 drivers, and they were able to bring them out and do a similar thing. And now with iRacing, they brought out 38 of the 40 drivers and brought them through the ringer through the media training and all that stuff. So yeah, I definitely do see a huge commitment here from NASCAR Productions, from NBC, from iRacing. Everybody's all in on this. The teams are all in. Watching these guys sign contracts, like I watched Chris Overland and Garrett Lowe sign their contracts with the Wood brothers, and that was really cool to see them signing an actual contract with an actual NASCAR team that was investing in their future in the eNASCAR world. And that's all across the board with all 40 of these drivers.
Now, I don't want you to tell me anything specific, but just to ask a question, is it a situation where Wood Brothers is paying them some kind of fee to be on the team in addition to the prize money that iRacing puts up?
iRacing is putting up a prize money, yes. I believe the total amount of money this year was $100,000. And there's also a team salary, from what I understand, that each of the drivers had to agree to. It was an agreement between the drivers and the teams. They both had to come to an agreement. It wasn't like,
A set
Team
amount
A
or
was going to
anything,
go to
right?
driver A. Yeah, it wasn't like this is what you're getting. And I felt like every driver that was there, I asked them, every single driver that I talked about 30 of the 38 drivers that were there, and I asked them how they came to their agreement with their team, and they all went into different details and whatnot. Nobody went into specific details on their contract or anything like that, but they said, I just wanted to race for this team, or they really treated me right last year and that's why I re-signed with them, or I was looking towards this team and I really wanted to. There's no, in this series, there's no bad driver and there's no bad team to be on, and that's the incredible thing, is that all 40 drivers are all the 40 best drivers that are out there.
Right.
So you've got 20 really competitive teams out there that it's going to be incredible to watch and see how it plays out this season.
Yeah, and the people that are left for the remaining free agency spots, there's some great drivers left. So like you said, everybody is great. Let's backpedal. Let's talk Road to Pro. I'm sure you followed that. Who should have made it that didn't? Cody Bias kind of comes to name, but what do you think? How did that series go? Did we end up with the right top 20?
I mean, it's tough to say because each driver is deserving in themselves. I look at Cody Bias. I look at Nicholas Shelton. I look at Brian Blackford. I look at Casey Tucker. Those are four names that stand out to me, that just they've been there and then they weren't. And that's not anything negative on those drivers or any of the other 20 drivers that weren't able to make it in through the Pro Series. It was just a really competitive field this year. And if it wasn't one thing, it was another thing. There was a lot of, I'd say at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of nervousness maybe between the drivers and racing around one another, because you did see the incidents kind of spike up there in like the second, third, fourth races of the season. But once they finally calmed down and started racing each other and finally started learning how each other raced around each other, you started seeing a lot of great action going on in the Pro Series. And unfortunately for some, their luck maybe wasn't as great as another's was. So I do think we have the 40 best drivers that are out there. I think that you could replace them with another and you'd still have the 40 best drivers. It's just the nature of the series that this is what it is. And you got to feel for the drivers that didn't make it in, but they're going to go to the Road to Pro this year, and they're gonna the cream always rises to the top, and I'm sure they'll be back in the Pro Series and fighting for the top 20 spot again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very entertaining to watch. I'm glad that Podium decided to cover that because it was fun. We enjoyed watching it. So let's talk. Let's switch over to this week's news, and we literally talk about all kinds of stuff about this series, the eNASCAR series, every week. Let's start off with a story you reported, Justin, about Ray Alfala. Tell us what he decided.
So Ray Alfala, last season he was drafted #1 by the Wood brothers. This season he's moving over. He's going to be driving for the new virtual racing school team. So there's going to be 5 new teams entering the series this year in virtual racing school, which Ray, drives for already. He was sponsored by them for many races last season and through the Pro Series. He's an ambassador of their company already. So it was like a no-brainer that he was going to be moving over to VRS. The other driver hasn't been announced yet for that team, but to see the champion move it over, the 4-time champion move it over to the virtual racing school was really no surprise there.
Yeah, but the timing, it was a little, I wasn't surprised. I was kind of surprised it wasn't announced sooner, but, and he's going to keep his, the number 2 or go back to his number 2 car, which he was famous for.
Right. All 4 of his championship he won driving the number 2 car. So it just, with a lot of these announcements, there's a lot of back end stuff that's going on. All 40 drivers have a team. There's truly nobody out there that doesn't know what they're already doing for next season. It just hasn't been announced yet.
Right.
I don't know the specifics on why they have been waiting or what's going on with any of that. Like I just know what I know. And Ray making his announcement last week was that was the right time for him. I'm sure there was some back end stuff that they had to take care of. I know his car paint scheme is, hasn't been officially announced yet, but I know it exists out there. So maybe that might have been a part of it. So, the timing on a lot of this stuff is a little wacky. I was kind of expecting it all to be out before the media days, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, we were thinking the timing is kind of getting late in the tooth here as we approach the Daytona 500. Next up was a post from Lockdown Racing. Now we got to switch gears. Lockdown is an internal team, not one of the external teams as I call it. But they have announced they added Corey Vincent and his spotter Dalton Malam for the 2020 eNASCAR series, and they're going to be running over there with Zach Novak.
Yeah, that's another. It's like another no-brainer type of ad there. Corey and Zach have worked together before in the past, and you could just see this coming. A lot of these drivers do a lot of the back end stuff with lockdown, with slip angle, dead zone, all that type of stuff. So just drivers aligning with teams, making sure that they have their proper alliances set before the season starts for setup making and sharing and information sharing and whatnot. I mean, there's going to be a team championship this year, and Corey Vincent and Zach Novak they're not teammates in the sense of Zach is driving for Richmond Raceway and Corey is still yet to be announced. But all signs are pointing to him being at the Renegades because of social media and whatnot. But they're not going to be competing with each other to win the team championship, but they can still work together to help each other do better in these races by setup help and information sharing and whatnot. So again, it was just another one of those things that you half expected it was going to happen, and I'm glad to see Corey and Lockdown getting together and making things official.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest dominoes to fall, as you mentioned, was Zach Novak moving over to Richmond from Roush. And so everyone was thinking, boy, that's a bad hit for Roush. But Roush announced their squad, Nathan Lyon and Colin Keister. Pretty good lineup there.
Definitely. And like I said before, there really is no bad lineup that's out there. Nathan he was kind of a standout in the Pro Series when he had to go back to it, but he's always shown speed and going back to it, um, I think that he's going to be a really good fill for that number 6 car if he can get the just the luck to be on his side. It in the Pro Series, you saw him up front a lot, and then something would happen, and it took him into that last race of the season at Homestead to finally break through and find victory lane again in the Pro Series. Colin Keister, I've known that dude for years. He's actually raced at my home league at FTF Racing, and he's always been fast. He's always been I joke around with him. I'd like to call him a dart without feathers because he is so fast. But he goes out there and he always puts on a show. And it'll be exciting to see the both of them representing Roush Fenway this season to see what they can do. Colin, he had a pretty good Pro Series. He's truly one of the like purest rookies that's out there, because this was the first time he ran in the Road to Pro. This is the first time he ran in the Pro Series, and he makes the World Championship Series on his first try. So really exciting to see him step up to the big leagues as well.
Yeah, and some good sponsorship opportunities, I'm sure, because Castrol just signed with Ryan Newman over there at Roush, and so maybe some of that sponsorship will rub down to these guys. Nice to see that. Next announcement, Kyle Larson, the busiest guy on the planet in the offseason with his bloody eye and winning the Chili Bowl and going to New Zealand and all that. He made his announcement of his team, Steve Sheehan and Bob Bryant. Couple old guys.
This is the announcement I was waiting for, like, this whole entire off season. Steven and Bob were just an absolute delight to talk to during the media days. And the history that they bring with them to the 2020 season is just going to be an absolute incredible addition. You talk about guys who have been around forever. These two have been around forever. The joke, though, is that Bob's going to be a rookie this season because he's never raced in the iRacing World Championship Series. But before iRacing even existed, these two were tearing up the track over in the DMP League and racing with Dale Jr. and winning championships over there. So I'm really excited to see what they can do, because you kind of get that sense of old school versus new school, and these guys are kind of leading the charge for the old school brigade, with guys like Ray Alfala and guys like Brad Davies and Nick Ottinger. The old guard kind of seeing how they stack up against the new guard, guys like Zach Novak and Keegan Leahy and those guys. So I am very excited to see how they're going to perform this year. I think they fit very well with Kyle Larson. I was listening to another one of their interviews that they had done, and it feels like they're right at home with Kyle Larson Racing Esports.
Yeah, perfect combo, I think, to go with Kyle. I think I like it. I'm an old guy, so I'm pushing for these guys. They're going to be my sentimental favorites for sure. And Bob Bryant ran great during the Pro Series.
He didn't even have to race in the last race to make it in. He took off at Homestead, and I think he had prior commitments or something like that, but he was already locked in a week prior. So yeah, he definitely had a really good Pro Series out there, and it'll be like I said, I'm really excited to see what both of these guys can do, because I really think that they could be contenders week in and week out.
Now, we started streaming our podcast recording for the first time to YouTube, Facebook. So we have a listener question on the live feed. Christopher Overland, I think we know who he is. He asked, who's the biggest sleeper team in the ENI WCS?
Yeah, I mean, you look at a bunch of these teams. I feel like the biggest sleeper team maybe hasn't even been announced yet. So I'll leave it at that. Well, I mean, it's a lot of good teams that are out there.
There
I mean,
is.
I know he wants me to say Wood Brothers, but I don't feel like they're a sleeper team, because I mean, he's been up there in the points plenty of times.
Yeah,
and
we expect them to be there, right?
That's exactly it. I mean, Garrett almost made the championship for last season, so I really can't consider that to be sleeper in any sense of the word. Um, and I'll keep repeating myself here, where I think that every single team that's out there, all 20 teams, any single one of them could win the team championship this year. Any single one of them could produce a driver champion this year. That's how stacked this field is.
Yeah, and that's why it's so fun to watch, especially with this new NASCAR package where they all stack up anyway. And anyway, next one was G2 Esports. They announced Alex McCullum and Jarl Tien.
Yeah, so Jarl's back this season. He was opposite Keegan Leahy last year, and Keegan, of course, he's moving on to Denny Hamlin Racing for the 2020 season. So they brought in Alex McCollum to fill the seat, and Alex was another one of those guys where he was clinched a week early in the Pro Series. So that's another great add for G2. I feel like he'll fit their brand pretty well. And I feel like they're another team that you got to look out for this year.
Okay, so that leaves a few slots open, a few teams left, a few drivers with announcements. We know announcements are just kind of pending. I think we saw something from Malik Ray on social media that indicated that he was waiting to announce something, but he's probably signed up. So. Well, very good. Thanks for coming on, Justin, and telling us all about all this information you're covering, and you have so much knowledge. And again, thank you for what you publish out there. We certainly talk about it on our weekly podcast on a regular basis, and gives our listeners and some of that insider information from an iRacers perspective. So thank you for what you do, and continue on, and we'll continue watching. So how do the listeners follow your writings and stuff?
You can follow me mainly on Twitter at my handle at Justin Malillo. You could also follow any of my work at theracingexperts.net. That's pretty much where I post all my stuff as far as that's concerned, and I really do enjoy doing it. I mean, like I said, I've been a sim racer my entire life. And to see where the iRacing Peak Series is now, I'm just happy to be able to write for it, to write about it. It's really neat, and I'm glad that people are following along.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate you writing about it too, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Very good. Let's get into next topic. David, it's the 24 hours of Daytona happened.
Yeah, we have quite a few statistics and different events to talk to about it. We'll open up with talking about our results. We had planned basically two schedules, expecting that something might go wrong early in the first server. So we had to set up to run the second one, and it kind of worked out that ended up being what we had to do. Both you and I ran the first 5, 6, 7 stints or so together. Had a clean car. We're running top 7, top 6 or so.
Yeah.
We handed the car off to Greg. He's running around, and a guy makes a move late. A lap car makes a move late, and catches Greg off guard. And Greg maybe being a little aggressive too. He's not really sure. I guess rear-ended the guy, and this is while I was asleep, and while you were, I think, asleep as well. And I don't think Mark had made it back from work or was asleep. Anyways, I come back on and see a bunch of private blue messages to us in game, and we also have a message sitting in our inbox on Facebook. And I didn't really pay attention to which the name was. I asked Greg about it, and I kind of looked at the replay, or I didn't get a chance to look at the replay. But at the time, Greg didn't really feel like it was egregious, and it was definitely a racing accident. Well, in the 11th hour, I come up on a guy coming up onto the banking after, I guess it's turn 6. Or maybe that's turn 7. I flash my lights, just letting them know I'm going to come low instead of high because of how good of an exit I got. And the next thing, he just starts just rage blinking me nonstop. Tries to wreck me in turn 1. I dodge it, and I think he's long gone. So then the guy busts the chicane. and then comes and wrecks me, accelerating and upshifting into fourth gear in into turn three. Clearly intentional.
So he
So
skipped the chicane just so he could catch up with you and wreck you.
yes, and then they messaged just afterwards trying to say that he had a black screen problem. That part was pretty trollish, if not infuriating. Yeah, I did the protests and iRacing, well, basically about a 3 point essay, and so far the guy has not been in a race since then. They'll only tell you that they found him guilty. They won't tell you what the punishment is. So that's where we stand now on that.
Okay.
Anyways, it happened literally with about 20 minutes to sign up for the other race. So we jumped in the other race and had Mark start it. Kind of jumped off the schedule a little. And he got caught up with a guy unsafely joining, just pulled out right in front of him, nowhere to go. It hurt the car. We had 10 minutes of required repairs, but these guys wanted to go ahead and run it. And what did we come in? End up coming in
18th.
17th, 18th? Yeah.
Yeah, 18th. I got home from work and ran a couple shifts I wasn't expecting to be running because I thought we were still in the first race, but we were in the second. But yeah, it was pretty fun. I got some more time behind the wheel. My shoulder was sore, man. Just from 4 hours of running the Ferrari with the 100% feedback. It was sore. Um, it was fun. Late at night, I was running with Mark, and I was talking to Michael Grigliani. How do you say his name? Michael G.
Irregular?
We'll call him. He's one of the peak drivers. He was running in our split, and we were chatting a little bit. And then I got on the Twitter after I got out of the car and was doing a little late night trash talking with Jim Beaver over at Jim Beaver Esports because Michael G runs for those guys, and it was kind of fun interacting with Jim Beaver over there.
Yeah, we had a little friendly trash talking as opposed to completely ruining, weeks of work.
Yeah. All right, let's talk
So
about
we weren't in the top
overall
split.
results.
We weren't in the top split, but you have some information on the top split results.
Yeah, that's right. Team Redline, fantastic win for the 71 GT car. Uh, and those guys got it done. Uh, Rogers, man, this guy is quick, man. He wins in his car with Coanda Simsport with Martin Kroenke, Tommy Osgard, and Mitchell DeJong. We were looking at the stats, guys, on the fastest laps of the race in overall, and you had everybody right up to second place with all these times, and then you have the guy in first, 4/10 faster than everybody else. It's Josh Rogers. It just blows my mind that he's 4/10 faster than everybody else on the planet.
That there's just something that sets him apart. He's just that good.
Yeah, so they were in the Corvette and did the overall win. So congratulations to Josh. I think he should be more proud of that 4/10 on everybody in the planet thing. What about the stats we saw though?
Well, it was pretty interesting. We chose not to try to have our lowest I rating guys. Sometimes we'll try to get in a bottom split for the 24. We went ahead and had me sign up before anybody else so we could get the highest split possible.
Why
So
though?
we got to run well because we got to run second split and we got to run in a
Cleaner split.
in a cleaner split and also in a actual multi-class instead of all GTEs. Unfortunately, in the second race that we signed up for, it was all GTEs. But speaking of the splits, there were 5 splits that ran the, I guess, Euro time zone start, the early start, with 192 teams, or no, 20. And that was, I'm sorry, it was 5 splits and then 26 splits for the late start with 192 teams starting the early event and 1,355 for the second start. There
Wow,
was
big
over a
discrepancy there.
million laps turned. Yeah, yeah, there was. The second time slot is kind of more convenient for almost everybody because that's completely the weekend for everybody. It was the early time slot was a little bit more convenient for us because I had to work so much Saturday. And
Right.
we were also thinking something goes wrong in this one, we'll just jump in the next one.
So 6,300 drivers over a million laps among the two races.
A million laps turned. That's incredible numbers. Big event.
Okay.
And it also ran really smoothly.
Yeah, there were no issues of server problems. There was a thread about it in the forums. Congratulations, iRacing. Some other notes. Somebody mentioned they downloaded the entire top split replay, all 24 hours, and it was 40 gigabytes of data. The other one was somebody was racing for charity, and he raised $4,371 for the Extra Life for Kids charity, and he got people to donate up, and that's quite a haul, actually. That's pretty good, $4,300. So it was Chevette on Twitter, his handle 924RAR Chevette. He ran solo 823 laps.
Which means he ends up getting disqualified. He should get somebody to just come in there with two drivers. I think the minimum you have to run is 4 stints.
Hmm. Well, that's pretty cool. Then the stats that Rob Crouch from Australia put up again are just outstanding to look at. I mean, visually appealing. He has them up in the forums. If you search Daytona 24 2020, you'll see it. He's got one for each type of. He's got the Daytona prototype. He's got a separate one for GTE, and then a separate for GT3 and so forth.
And that just about wraps up the 24-hour coverage. Congrats to all the teams. Hopefully it went well for you. Of course, it can't go well for everybody. And next, I don't remember what's on the schedule next, whether it's Bothurst or Sebring. But of course, the very first thing we asked each other when we finished was, okay, what's the next race?
Yeah, I'm not running again till Le Mans in June.
I'll definitely run Spa and Sebring. I don't know about Bathurst. But that does conclude that. And now we'll move on to the rest of the topics. iRacing member highlights video. I started to watch this one, and then I actually popped on the chat and said, "Hey, we've already covered this one." And Will was like, "Yeah, no, we haven't. It's a different video." But it seems to have a lot of the same highlights that came in the top 10 video, except maybe more, just a random assortment of different highlights that you can check out.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing when I first saw it. I said, wait, they already did a video, but it's a different video. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the same footage or just different views of the same footage or what. I don't know.
It's
Well,
I'm sorry. It's all different clips. I watched through it because I submitted them a video. And I was hoping I made this one because I didn't make the top 10, and it's just all different clips. Pretty much anything in here is good enough to make the top 10 highlight. I think they just are getting way too many great clips, and 10 is just not enough for the month.
Yeah, too many to just not share them too. They're so good. Like you said, all these are like side by side at the finish line or, great saves and that kind of thing. It's really fun to watch. All right, next up, a rare, huge network hiccup happened on the 16th at 5:45 p.m. Eastern. According to staff member Jason Breifogel, he said it looks like it caused our primary scheduler to get hung up and the backup took over as it was supposed to. But since the first one was still really alive, they both wound up doing the same job, so we got twice the number of sessions and people scheduled into 2 sessions instead of 1. And there's a screenshot where you see the little join box and it's got the same session time, but there's 2 that you can click on instead of just 1. And member Andy Gooderson posted in the forums, "This is whack. I lost iRating in a split I wasn't even in." Reports in the forum, if you were racing around 7 p.m. yesterday, you were in 2 splits at the same time. So if you were racing during that time frame and you had a good finish, let's say you won the race, you might have won the race, but in the other split you were in, you lost the race. You were dead last because you weren't in it.
I wonder how that works though, because if there's a mass disconnect, is how it looks like what happened. I clicked on one of the splits, and I think half the field it just had disconnected, and nobody put a lap in. If they do a thing where they put your position equal to your car number, so basically, if you're car number one in two splits and it kind of freaks out like this again, it could minimize your I rating loss. Um, I don't know. It sounds like a backup system worked as intended, but something else glitched, and that's what happened here.
Well, he didn't specify how much iRating he lost either, but if if only one of the servers ran, then they wouldn't count. They wouldn't count the iRating. If the other race never actually started. But did half the people end up in one of the servers and half the people end up in the other server? Might be a question. Also, you can petition for that iRating back if you want, probably in this situation since it's a technical glitch, but it'll be such a small
It ain't gonna
blip in
happen.
your overall. Well, it'll be such a small blip in your overall route that you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to harm your
I'm pretty
progress.
sure that you couldn't petition. I mean, you could, but it ain't gonna get it. They're not. They just never do that. I don't think there's been ever an instance I've heard where they've given iRating back.
I don't think they could. I
Yeah,
don't
the
think the
system
system's set
doesn't
up for it.
allow it. All right, let's keep moving. Will, major physics engine glitch?
Yeah, remember Cameron Dance? He posted up a GIF and an issue he had in a race, and basically he's going along, and his car launches into space for really no apparent reason. Staff member Nick Leap posted up that said that he'd passed it along. I kind of went through the forum thread, and there looks like there's no explanation or um, issue for them to fix at the moment because I don't really know what's going on.
And it's not like he's off the track or something. He's like right in on the track. He's a little bit out of the groove because he's side by side, but he's not like on the edge of the track or anything like that. He's just rolling along and then boom, launch, just like a spaceship.
Yeah, he's side by side just before the Porsche curves at the Le Mans track, and yeah, it just sends him to space. It didn't look like any kind of net code with the car next to him. The car next to him was perfectly fine. There was at least a car width between the two of them, but it was just adios. You're out of here.
I can only imagine how hard that glitch is going to be to find, considering how many laps are run at that track.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard of this before at that track, but it made it. The guy made an interesting GIF of it, and that was kind of fun to watch on cell phones. All right, next up, Steve Myers mentioned in the forums, we are pushing hard to get Cup cars out with Daytona and Talladega before Daytona. Sorry for the delay, but as you can tell, we want to make sure that the AI behaves with cars and tracks before we release them. So that's soon, guys. That's 2, 3 weeks. That's in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it kind of leaked out that this was supposed to come out with the last build, and it was delayed. And I'm sure they're taking their time for a reason to make sure everything's as good as it can be. So I don't have any problem with that.
I'm just excited to try it. It's one thing for me to try the road AI because I'm not really a road driver. I'm not real fast and whatnot. It's fun, but I'm an oval guy and I'm a Daytona guy for sure. And so to race these AI and see how good they are or how bad they are, I hope that they're good. I hope they're really hard to beat.
I particularly like the reply as they're discussing whether or not it takes more intelligence to drive oval compared to road, with the fact that they haven't got oval AI yet, and that what it's not the matter of it's not really that it's intelligence. One guy replied that the AI just hasn't been given the ability to talk yet, and that's pretty important in oval racing.
Yeah, it seems like it, huh? On the chat. All right, Will, we got iRacing at the Chili Bowl, kicking butt.
Yes, Steve Myers tweeted out, congratulations to Kyle Larson who picked up his first Chili Bowl win. And iRacing is 3 for 3 for bringing home the driller. So last two were with Christopher Bell, this one with Kyle Larson. But iRacing definitely knows which cars to put their logo on.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Kyle. He's getting it done here in the off season with the iRacing colors. And boy, his jubilation when he got the trophy at the end, he got a pose that looks just like the iRacing logo. And Twitter user Daniel Aldrich did a little Photoshop with it and put on the red and blue background behind it to kind of mimic the iRacing logo. And guys, it came out pretty darn good. I really like it.
Yeah, that is it was a very emotional win, you could tell on his part, and just the excitement. And if he was looking down like 10 degrees and a little bit to the left, he would have nailed the iRacing logo perfect. But really, really cool to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I watched the last part of that last race on my phone. Somebody was put it on Twitch, and I was able to see it. And Christopher was leading, and Kyle just took it from him on one of those restarts. He just did a complete side slide job and just forced the issue. And once he got the lead, he was able to keep it.
That original logo is of a real life driver. I don't know if they've ever said who it is, but it would be interesting if they would actually ever just go ahead and roll with this. Go ahead and change the silhouette.
The colors are actually backwards from the original logo if you look carefully, but I'm sure that could be adjusted. All right, next up, iRacing was almost hacked, is what we're finding out. We call it I am not a robot. And if you've signed in recently, you might have seen this, where not only does it ask you the normal username and password, but you have to click the box that has the street light in it, and you have to click on 6 different boxes and hit login. What do you guys think of that?
It's just a part of the world we live in. We have to protect against the bad boys.
Yeah.
I think it's a good sign iRacing's growing. People are trying to hack it now. That's how you know you're at another level. But I noticed it on my phone. I like to log on at work and just kind of browse the forums every now and then, and it was a little annoying at first, but I've kind of gotten used to it. I don't think it's a big deal. If it makes us safer as members, I'm all for it.
Now, my understanding, it's one of those brood attacks where a machine is going to the web login page and it's trying, multiple times to log in with, every other password it can come up with. And the I'm not a robot thing will slow it down because obviously it's got to click through all the pictures and stuff and whatnot before it's allowed to try it again. So that's the idea of why it's there. Uh, Chris Page over at iRacing, he did post up about it. They're basically saying it's necessary at this point because somebody was targeting us. I don't think they know if this is a permanent kind of thing. The other thing is it broke all the third-party apps that use scraping of the iRacing service to get information, like iPitting.com or danandlisa.com, or what are some other ones, Will, I'm not thinking of?
Nothing I've used has really been affected. I like to use iRacingStats.com, and I thought that would get messed up. But nothing on my end that's really been messed up.
Yeah, any of those things where you have to put in a username and password. I think there's another app called iSchedule where you can look up, your racing schedule or stats and that kind of thing. But anyway, some of those things are affected. There is a forum post from those developers of those apps, obviously looking for answers, and they don't really have any at this moment. What else about this? Let's see. There was another post in the forums, people asking to get rid of it. It's annoying. Why do we have to have it? But I think, like you said, David, it's just part of the way it is here in 2020.
It is.
All right,
And
what's
speaking
next?
of user interfaces and member websites, the next thing we have is a discussion on the forums about the beta UI opening video. Basically, somebody shouting its praises.
Yeah, I went in. It made me go in and try it and look, and it's like a bumper cam going on the dirt truck, on the Wild West track. Um, and it looks really sharp and it looks kind of cool and it just plays while everything kind of loads just for a moment. But it's a nice touch. It's visually appealing. They're really trying to make the beta UI grow on me, I think, with little stuff
Now,
like that.
they've done a lot of good work on it. We remember talking about the 24 hours last week that they didn't want the team interface used on it very much. It's not quite fully implemented. Another thing that they don't have implemented very well is the pre-gridding of fields. Like I'm running with the majors now, and they preset all of their splits because you have to qualify in on time throughout the week, and they are stuck basically only using the member website still, where they can't set a specific date or time. So every race we run has to run in May weather. So I mean, we're talking a couple of major, major or minor glitches, but they've definitely improved it. The biggest improvement was not having to be in VR when you're going through the interface, and that makes it run a lot smoother for me.
Yeah, I've played around in the beta interface. The biggest thing is I just really love the official race guide. The way it sorts it by license class, and you could see what the track name is, how many drivers are getting ready for that race, when does it start. I've played around with the beta UI and have made it better, where I can sort it by either how many drivers are in a race or how soon before the next race starts. There's something about that screen though I just don't like as much as the member site. If they ever get that right, I'll be 100% happy only using the beta UI. It's just missing a little something for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use it to join races still because I basically each season I will bookmark the sessions page for each of my series like IMSA and Le Mans and NIS, and I'll just click on that bookmark and go straight to the sessions page when it's open, and I can just click register for the race or register for the practice.
Good idea. Yeah, the website is so convenient. Like if lately I've been jumping between Pickup Cup to Delara Dash, Pickup Cup to Delara Dash every half hour. And it's literally just like 2 clicks with a mouse on a website. So why do I want to open a beta UI and drill in there and look around and figure out where I want to click and when it's so easy? I mean, and the hosted, when you go to hosted on the website, there's just so much information presented to you that they haven't replicated perfectly in the beta UI. The part where you can hover and get more information without clicking, that stuff is missing.
Yeah, a lot of the artwork in the UI looks nicer, but just though you're right, it's the information they give you. I could quickly look at 20 series right now on my screen, see how many drivers are in each race, how long between each race. So if I want to race in 10 minutes, do I want to race in 20 minutes? Do I want to race in this race that has 14 people? I could just see so much more, so much faster. And I don't know if that's just because that's what I've used since I started iRacing. I feel like I need to give myself like a solid week or two of using nothing but the beta UI, and I'd probably adapt. But it's just missing a little something.
You would adapt, but what my point is, it's slower. If it's slower, I don't think people are going to like it. So they got something to do there still. All right, let's keep moving. We had a announcement on Facebook. Monty Noise has passed away. You might remember Monty Noise. He's been around iRacing forever, guys. He's always been hosted. He's a super speedway master, or a tally whacker, as I call it. A guy who runs hosted oval all the time. And he was really good. And I've raced him a lot, and I'm sure a lot of you listeners have raced him as well. And he was always somebody to contend with out there, and respectful on the track. And I just wanted to mention it that we did lose Monty So Godspeed to him. All right, Will, Trading Paints announces their anniversary.
Yeah, no, they are having their 10th birthday. iRacing launched to the public on January 20th in 2010, and now it's 2020. So congratulations to Trading Paints. They provide an amazing service to the community. Makes racing a lot funner when you have paint jobs you can recognize out there. And I couldn't imagine what iRacing was like prior to Trading Paints.
Well, it's necessary for sure. I mean, can you imagine what it would be without it? Is the kind of the thing to think about. I mean, they really do give us a good service, and it's free. You know, you can pay for the pro subscription to get some extra features, but most people don't. Most people are fine with the free version. Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually tweeted his praise, said such a great service, made iRacing much more enjoyable for so many members.
Yeah, I know.
And
Oh,
go
sorry, you
ahead.
go, David.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I was gonna say, my dad is new to iRacing, and he iRaced for about a month before I talked him into downloading Trading Paints. And basically, I had to walk him through every step. He has really no PC or PC gaming experience, and our first session on the track, he was um, having a good time pointing out all the cars and the historic paint jobs in the K&N car. So I know it's it definitely makes it a funner experience to have those cars painted around you.
It's been around almost as long as iRacing, so I can't remember actually running without it. And a great thing along the lines of what we talk about with iRacing is they also continue to update their product. We talked about that most recently with the new uniform management. And speaking of which, the spec map has just been an awesome addition to the to the visuals, and there were so many pretty paints at the Daytona 24. And so, just as a reminder, this has popped back up. There's a link that we have on the iRacing forums that actually goes to several YouTube videos that will help walk you through that process of getting a metallic look or a rough look.
Yeah, there's 6 videos that iRacing has put up on basically how to paint with all this new stuff and numbers, logos, roughness, metallic, and then spec map. So there's different areas each video focuses on. Uh, they understand that this stuff is complicated, and it is, and you need instruction. Well, they provide instruction. So if you search the forums custom spec map video, you'll find those links to YouTube.
You can also use the show notes. And if you take a look at our show notes that you can see right now, the next thing we're going to talk about is some old dudes.
Yeah, the OBRL, Old Bastards Racing League, Steve over there. This is the second week we're going to talk about it, but it's a heads up on a charity race for law enforcement officer survivors. Uh, it gives them money if their officer family member is killed in the line of duty. They cover living expenses until payment of survivor benefits can be received. And so 100% of the money raised goes to that fund. It's a $20 entry fee. Trucks at Homestead, 100 laps, Saturday, February 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern. To get involved, you go to runforleosurvivors.org, click donate, and donate the $20 fee. And then you can go to Burning Rubber Radio Facebook page where they have an event set up on Facebook where you actually sign up to go along with your $20 donation. So get involved. Let's fill the room, guys, and get these guys some money. They deserve it. All right. Holy course cutting.
Yeah, looks like some guys found a cut on the Barcelona historic course. And Tyler put out a nice little stern warning that they will come down on you hard if you do this.
Yeah, did you see the video?
Not quite yet.
Yeah, the video, the
notice
guy
there's a video
completely is off track and is going, kind of beyond the rumble strips, and it doesn't give him a slowdown or anything. And Tyler alludes to they're going to put a slowdown in, but until then, he's just basically saying if you're caught doing this, you're going to be in trouble.
I think that's
Yeah,
fair. I think it's nice that they put it out there to tell people they're going to get penalized for it. Um, I think that should just be common sense to most members. But I know racers always try to find any advantage they can. So
Yep.
that is right on the edge because there's quite a few places where you can be all over the curb at Sebring that some officials might bust you for, but you don't get a 1X or a cut track. So this isn't like I don't see this particular one is the same as something that's cutting a section of the track off.
It's not as egregious, is that what you mean?
It's closer to the gray side of things.
Right. But yet they're going to work on it, but he did announce about it. So be careful out there on Barcelona. All right, Will, we got finally a Road to Pro schedule.
yeah, Tyler Hudson posted up, I believe, a couple days ago the Road to Pro schedule. They do have some different tracks than before. I know Eldora was dropped, which I was a big fan of them dropping that. As much as I love dirt, I just feel like it made no sense to be on there. But it's a really nice collection of tracks, in my opinion. They go from Daytona, Rockingham, Homestead, Atlanta, the Charlotte Roval, Michigan, Richmond, Darlington, Dover, Vegas, Canadian Tire, Texas, Martinsville, and Phoenix. I think those are all driver tracks. That they're all tracks that really kind of take skill to get around, and I think this is a good lineup. What do you guys think?
2 road courses. I think it's a
Almost
good
a
schedule. I mean, it kind of lines up with real life, is what
little
I'm
bit, but
seeing.
it almost harkens back to some of the early Truck Series days too, when they weren't just doubling the the nation or the top series all the time.
I think the biggest surprise is Rockingham. I mean, as a second race.
Yeah, Tyler mentioned he did have more freedom doing this schedule than in the past, it sounded like. So I hope this schedule works out good. I think this is probably the best collections of tracks I could have even came up with. I can't think of any tracks that would have been better to put on this list. So another thing to mention is a Class A 2.0 license. So not only do you have to have a Class A license, your safety rating needs to be above a 2.0. I think that is a kind of a new addition. Have you guys ever noticed that before in the past?
Hmm. No, I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, I think it might have been A only before. 14 weeks. It goes March 10th through September 22nd. So this is a long season for 14 races. So it's every other week opposite the Peak Series. It's called Road to Pro and it's trucks. We got 2 people, 3 maybe, who are going to run it, seriously run for it on this team. And so I'm going to be involved as a, administrator, spotter, coach, that kind of thing. I don't think I'm actually going to race. I'm going to try to see if I can use my skill to help the other drivers who are going for it. So I'm excited. Let's get it.
It's a series that we always see a lot of participation drop off. I guess as people start to realize how much harder it is, and or that they're so far out of the running that they're not going to stand a chance.
Well, if you look at oval series in iRacing and you look at prestige level, you got the eNASCAR Peak whatever series at the top. Then you have the Road to Pro or the Pro series, which was the Xfinity we watched before. And then you have this, the Road to Pro. It's literally the third one down. And then after that, I would say is the NIS series, which is what we always run, the NASCAR iRacing series, is the fourth, I would say. And so I encourage people to run this Road to Pro, even if you don't have the I rating to actually get in the top 20. To be realistic, you got to have a 4,500 or 5,000 I rating at the beginning of this series to be able to even be in contention. There's no way you can race your way in if you are less than that, I don't think. But run
I
it
want.
anyway. Like
I,
you said, the participation was really high at the beginning of the season, especially at Daytona. And then it falls off drastically because people forget about it because it only happens every 2 weeks.
how do you feel about this being just a one start a week series? I know NIS is limited starts. Most series run every couple hours, but this is a one and done series. Do you think that affects the racing at all, or do you think participation would be better throughout the year if there was 2 to 3 starts a week, kind of like NIS?
I don't know. I kind of like the once every 2 weeks thing because it kind of mimics what's going to happen in the Pro Series. I mean, that's kind of the same way. I mean, it's a one and done, and if you have bad luck, you're pretty much hosed.
Yeah, I like NIS better than Road to Pro. I'm not going to be one of the people running the Road to Pro because I prefer the multiple shots at a pickup racing. That's what I really enjoy about iRacing. But when you want to take it to that top level, once a week makes sense, and it becomes a times commitment. It becomes almost a job, and so I think the guys at that level, it's going to require that type of commitment and that type of luck, and that you it's always luck is what preparation meets opportunity when to reach the top of these series.
I got one final question for you too. This is a 14-week series. I know it's going to be stretched out throughout the year. The Pro Series was 7 to 8 weeks, and in a much more condensed time frame. Do you ever see them adjusting these schedules to kind of have a balance between them, or do you think it's going to be kind of how it is?
I don't see him changing it. It's been this way, I think, the third year in a row now. So I don't see him changing it. I think they want activity on this all throughout the NASCAR season. So they're starting it a little late in March 10th. I mean, that's a little late, later than the season normally starts, but we'll have the peak before that, and then we do the Road to Pro after them. So it is opposite Road to Pro. That maybe means maybe they can broadcast it. If they're broadcasting normally on Tuesday nights for Road to Pro and peak, and alternate between them. I don't know. I kind of like the way the schedule is.
Yeah, the schedule kind of lays out with the with the NASCAR season. They use the Road to Pro during the NASCAR season. They use the Pro basically in the off season, and it got promoted a little bit better this year as far as the broadcasting. Um, and another difference in the two series is Road to Pro is an open series. Pro, you basically have already gotten there through a 14-week series.
Now, one note one of the team members noted was it says on Martinsville that the time of day is sunset. So he said that that looks like we're getting lights at some point with Martinsville, if that's indeed the case. But that's at the end of the season. September 8th is Martinsville. So does that mean we're going to have lights at Martinsville before September 8th? Maybe.
Hope so. I didn't make it this year, but I've been to a few of the fall races, and it's a nice looking track as it gets dark. It starts a little bit before sunset.
Yeah, when I went this year, when it went dark, was definitely the best time. It was cooled off. You could see the brake rotors glowing. I'm sure iRacing will have those lights up. Um, Possibly the next two builds, they'll definitely be ready in time.
If you're an oval driver, I'll say it one more time. Run this series. It's once every 2 weeks on a Tuesday night. You're going to be running anyway. Plan it. Do it. Get one start every time. See where the points shake out. Who cares about what your I rating is? Just see what happens. And that way next year you know what to expect and you can build on it and that kind of thing. So it's open to everybody. All you got to have is that A license. So do it. Do it, do it, do it. All right, let's keep moving. We have an article by Crash.net telling us that Formula One is using their esports drivers to trial rule changes. And this article went on to say that they've had great success with their Formula One East series, with their e-drivers and whatnot, that they've decided to try some rules changes with them, namely how the Formula One cars grid up. As you know, right now they stagger on grid quite a bit. They're going to trial maybe starting the cars side by side, in rows of two. And does the racing, look better? And, part of the article kind of talks about, they can simulate it all they want, but until they have humans actually doing it and you got that human element of how a start might go and how the cars kind of feed into turn one, if they're not staggered on the grid, How does that look when you do a start, 20 times in a row? And that's kind of what they were talking about.
I wouldn't be surprised hearing a story like this coming from NASCAR soon. I'm surprised they don't have 4, 5, 6 rigs at the NASCAR R&D Center to try out different things and have maybe a partnership with a development team at iRacing to kind of make weird formats or just stuff that they would like to test.
Yeah, like invert the
Especially,
field or something on a stage or something like that, right?
yeah, that aero package stuff. Different pitch strategies. Like, I'm sure they've simulated, or I would have simulated a full length Xfinity or truck race with the new pit stop rules to see what can go wrong, what goes right, what can we
How
tweak
long does it
before we
take,
get
right?
there. Um,
Well, Mike, what
I
was one
could
of the
easily see that
specific
happening.
things? Sorry, what was one of the specific things you did a little bit differently getting ready for the 24 this time?
Oh, I don't know.
You
Uh,
ran a race.
yeah,
You ran an
it
IMSA
was a
race.
race, yeah.
Don't you think you got more out of that than driving around in a practice session?
Oh, yeah. And I hate practice and it doesn't really seem to help me. So, yeah, I definitely got more out of running races for sure. And that's what I've been doing this week is running a bunch of short Daytona races, just kind of getting that muscle memory ready for the 500.
Yeah, even when it's unofficial, just that switch that goes off in your brain when it's a race compared to a practice, that's better. Whenever I run any of the tracks, whether it's oval or road, that's how I practice. I just get familiar enough with the track, and then I jump on the track and go. And usually my first race sucks, or it sucks for half the time, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this and this and this and this, and I get better in that first run.
All right, we got a new car, and Will, you guessed it right, actually.
He did, but he wanted me to tell you about it. It's the BMW M4 GT4. They showed iRacing taking pictures of one on site, and it's coming to the GT4 class in 2020.
Yeah, it looks like the Turner Catera team. I don't know if they're scanning the car or just getting photos of it, but yeah, it's happening. And boy, we've gotten a lot of BMW cars recently. That's the third one, right? Fourth?
I know we got the GTE most recently. Is there a GT3?
I can't even keep
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, this I think this is a great addition. It's going to go to the Michelin Pilot Challenge with the other Porsche they're adding later on this year. So they're going to go from just the Audi TRC to 3 cars in that series.
That'll be
I
cool.
I think it's going to be a great series for people just kind of getting to the GT3 and uh, GTE cars. If it was a fixed setup, I'd probably run it a little bit more. Um, but with through 2 more additional cars coming this year, I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes one of the most popular road series on the service.
Yeah, it's been a good addition to kind of fill in a class gap, but especially considering the MX-5 and the Kias and some of the other sports cars, they just don't really fit on the track as well, even with the GT3s. We've been following Snell Racing, and her first dive into endurance racing has been in the TC4. Um, there's been quite a few multi-class races coming out running like a mix of GT3, TC4, and maybe the Mazda or some other slower sports car. So it's created another range of multi-class ranging or racing where you don't have to jump up it straight to IMSA to get that experience.
Yeah. All right, pretty cool. And we got another weekly member spotlight video, and it's not the one we talked about last week.
Well, hopefully they should have a new one out every week. Yeah. And this one featured. I'm sorry, I'm pulling the link back.
Yeah, it's a member spotlight.
It's a member spotlight, Daniel Krzyzlowski, and it's a fight to the finish in a road race.
Yeah, supercar and side by side for like a lap and a half or at least, and really clean racing. And right down at the line, I mean, it's 0.730 to 0.731. And so they won it by one thousandth, barely. after a lap and a half at Phillip Island of all places, side by side. So that was kind of a longer format, like a 2 minute video of just one battle, and so they're doing a lot of different stuff with the videos. All right, let's jump into hardware, software. Will, we got a video showing off those beautiful, beautiful blue pedals.
Yeah, these are the updated HPP simulation pedals. Mark over there posted up a video in the forums, kind of going a little more in depth on them. He posted actually 2 videos. First one was showing a wall of pedals. I couldn't imagine how many sets of pedals there are on that wall. And then another video where he actually sets the pedals down and kind of goes through its components. These are really, really nice pedals. A little out of my price range, unfortunately. If I got them, my wife would probably kill me. But what do you guys think?
I love the 20-minute video where he goes through the entire product from nose to tail and just, describes everything and how he is really, this is really a new version of his older pedal, and he really does upgrade a lot of stuff. For example, all the electronic stuff is hidden in the base of the middle pedal, the brake. And there's not a lot of parts to it. It's kind of real low profile because he's got everything self-contained. And the
Yeah.
metal, and the color of the metal, obviously the blue, I don't know why the blue attracts me so much, but I just love the look of it. And then the pedals themselves are obviously steel or a stainless steel, and they look great.
And that's an anodized color, right? That's not a paint.
Right, which makes it even look more posh,
Very. It gives it the metallic look. Yeah.
So how much are they, Will?
Ooh, I believe last time I looked, they were upwards of
1,400.
yeah, say 14, 1,500. So, but they are probably gonna be the best pedals on the market when they do come out. They're all hydraulic. I know a lot of the stuff now, or lately, has all been load cells. So, it's cool to see some hydraulic pedals get some love.
Yeah, if I was buying pedals, man, this is it. I wouldn't be looking at anything else. This is what I'd be buying. They're called JBV. The website is hppsimulation.com. And they're actually for sale. I don't think they're a pre-order or anything.
Yeah, I believe he said shipments would be going out Monday. So if you ordered them today, they'd ship out Monday.
All right, let's keep moving. Well, we already talked about that one. Let's move on to the Lotus 98T vintage wheel review. This was a video put up and from Barry over at Sim Racing Garage. We always talk about his videos. And he has a Lotus vintage wheel that somebody put together, and it was from 3D wrap, so it's like 3D printed kind of stuff.
Looks like it might make a good oval wheel. Definitely limited on the buttons. Old school. And it's interesting that it is a formula wheel. So I couldn't find a measurement, but it's probably not as wide on the radius as the oval rims are.
189 euros, it looks like.
Is that going to come out to 300 roughly?
And
350?
just 2 buttons, one on each side. A pretty simple kind of oval wheel with Alcantara. But if you're an oval driver, maybe this suits you. It is kind of got that old style look to it. Vintage, as they call it.
Okay, I was wrong on the translation too. It's 219 American.
Not bad. And let's see, they have adapter for Logitech or Thrustmaster or OSW or QR.
Next up, we have BJ Sim Racing, offering some high quality products. You can take a look at their website. And the first thing that pops up for me is a nice looking formula rim. I like the button placements on it, and it has basically a custom screen that probably, I wonder if it can be integrated with sim racing apps or has its own menu. They also have fans, and there's quite a few menu options on there.
I
So
think
you can check out
brakes,
BJS Sim
yeah,
Racing.
brakes and hand brakes and pedals are really what they're known for. So click on those, and I think they're from Spain. They have an Instagram, and that's how I found them. And if you look at the Instagram, you'll see the products really easily. Um, the brakes look really nice, and I mean, really top end. Um, the website is got bjsimracing.com. If you go there, they do have different pricing and listed out in euros.
That's interesting. It looks like they have a high quality. Is it hydraulic?
It
Two
looks
pedal option.
hydraulic, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
If you're
find the
going,
price.
if you got the Formula Ring
1,157 euros.
for that, not for that two pedaler.
Oh, for the three pedal.
Yeah. Um, if you're running only Formula, you don't need that clutch pedal because you're going to clutch on the wheel.
They do look really like really high end pedals. They definitely have Willwood pedals on mounted to them, but definitely hydraulic, and they look pretty nice. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the foot plate that has the logo, the BJ Sim Racing, but otherwise they're really nice. All right, let's keep moving. Will, the ABB Ultimate.
Yeah, we got the Apex button box, or ABB Ultimate. It's a 24 function button box. They posted up on their Facebook page. It's decaled really nice, but yeah, there is a ton of buttons. Looks like an ignition, start button, brake bias knob, and two smaller encoder knobs, possibly for volume control or anything of that nature. But it looks like it runs $95, shipped to the lower 48 states, according to them.
Yeah, and it's going to be for sale in the iRacing flea market on Facebook. It's where he's going to actually sell them. He doesn't have a site, I guess. But we've talked about his stuff before. This has got a different design with the color. It's got, partial carbon fiber, but then some nice blue and white stripes.
Yeah, I was going through some of his other button box offerings, and I found a smaller one that I'm really liking for $49. It's 6 buttons, gives you 3 encoder knobs, one for brake bias and two smaller ones for whatever you want to use them for. But yeah, it's definitely got some good looking button boxes. Looks like good quality and great attention to detail.
All right. David, tell us about how you double the fan power.
Well, this is interesting looking at it. It's an upgrade kit for fans. Um, so it's only $60, and I'm not sure exactly what it's upgrading because you already have to have a double the fan with an air straightener to buy this product.
Well, it gives you the additional hoses where you can put the fan kit down below and just have the hoses come up to where you want them. And so it's like
So it's
or
giving you more length.
or you can have the one hose feed into this, which gives you two. So it doubles the fan power, right? You get twice, two things blowing instead of one.
Right, but you're gonna have to have the fans already.
Yeah, now this same place sells the fan kits as well. So this is a new product that they've announced to go with their original product that just gives you an extra, basically hose. It's like a Y cable, I guess, for a hose, so to speak, but it splits one into two kind of thing. Yeah, if you already got the wind thing. Now, if you had VR, this is a no-brainer for me. I would definitely have wind blowing on my face.
Yeah, but unless I guess you'd have to turn it off if you're in any cockpit car because you don't really have the wind blowing in your face when you're in a cup car or a sports car.
Well, it's a window net, right? You're going to have some buffeting, right?
Not really. That otherwise they wouldn't have to use the air coolers in their helmets. They have those things sealed tight to get as little air in there as possible.
Okay. Next up, I found on Facebook at Sim Racing Market Sale and Exchange, Ernesto Freitas posted up on January 20th seats for sale, sim seats, just a seat. He's got different colors. They look super comfortable, and lots of different options. They're 159 euros. And I guess it only makes sense if you buy them in Europe because of shipping, but what do you guys think? They're kind of a nice looking bucket seat, but wide.
It's like a perfect mix between like a traditional racing seat and what you see in some of the higher end Formula rigs. I think it's a very nice looking seat. It looks very comfortable, but still has a small enough profile to fit comfortably in a rig without taking up too much space.
Yeah, and as you scroll through the pictures, he's got logos on the headrest. In fact, there's a red one with the Ferrari logo. There's a black with green accents and it has the Lotus logo. So you can get a McLaren with the McLaren orange, and it's got the McLaren logo. So I really like those too.
They got a really nice looking MPI or Max Pappas one. Um, really nice looking high glossy black with kind of Alcantara material.
Yeah, definitely nice looking seats for the price. I mean, that's a good rate, right?
Let me tell you what's not a good rate.
Okay.
If you had 60K, would you drop it on a sim rig or an actual car to race?
Well, I don't know if we've heard one at 60. That's pretty high.
Well, we got one now.
It says
This,
your race simulator is invalid.
this is a rig with a Formula One body, pretty much, it looks like.
That's crazy. That's like Michael Schumacher's Formula One car. Full size, like replica, or it is an actual Formula One car. It looks like it.
Yeah, 60K if you want it.
And they got looks like a 46-inch triple screen mounted on in front of the cockpit. And there's a guy sitting in it. And obviously there's probably a steering wheel. We don't see that, but hey, it's for sale if you're in Miami, 60K. That's crazy. Your race simulator is invalid. So this was posted up on Turnology on their Facebook page.
Is that our most expensive item we've presented?
A Formula One car? Probably.
Or, well, just period. The 60K, is that the most expensive rig we've dropped?
I think so.
It's definitely up there.
All right, Will, what's next?
Yeah, so we spotted an Instagram post from Fast Track Sims, their new clutch mechanism. It looks like they mounted it to the front of their P1 chassis, but it is an actual racing clutch that the pedals operate. I don't know if you guys saw it. I know staff member David Tucker posted about it on the forums, replying to a post. He said he likes it. He said he would like to see them do a load cell on the clutch plate itself, so that way you can adjust the bite point to the exact point in the sim. Definitely next level clutch. We don't see those too often.
I don't think we ever talk about clutches when it comes to pedals. I mean, it's like David said, you don't even need a clutch and if you're a certain kind of driver. But if you do have a clutch, even on these high-end pedals, it's simple spring clutch. You know, it's just a spring or something, right? But I think these guys at Fast Track Sims, they're really taking this to the next level. They're, I think, the first ones I've seen that are really implementing a real clutch into a simulator. And I'm really been interested to follow this and just kind of see where it goes. Is this going to be the next thing that we all need to get, you know?
Yeah, Fast Track Sims, I've followed them for a little while now, and they have some of probably the best oval racing simulators out there, in my opinion, from what I could tell. They really go for realism and sitting in the proper way and having the right pedal set up. Even their direct drive motors are actually mounted just above the pedal set, and they actually have a steering rod that goes up to the driver's lap so you get the proper angles. So I'm not surprised they kind of have the best looking clutch out on the market.
Right. All right, let's keep moving. Alternative to D-Box. Lance Libby asked in the forums, what is an alternative for a 4-actuator D-Box setup? And of course, the first answer is the SFX 100. So that's the do-it-yourself version. A lot of people are really liking that. Some of the other ones mentioned are the PT Actuator, ProSim-U, and Motion House. But boy, I saw a cockpit this week. It was a regular Sim Labs 8020, but with D-Box. And it's like perfect because the monitors move, the pedals move, the steering wheel moves, everything moves because they're all on the Sim Labs chassis. And the entire chassis is on these four legs that move up and down. And it's like the perfect scenario. Anyway, let's keep moving. Company review, I found apexsimracing.com. And they have a website where they sell all kinds of stuff, button boxes, dashboards, steering wheels, everything, do-it-yourself parts. So check it out. They have a really nice looking dashboard for the, it looks like direct drive wheels. That's all carbon fiber and it goes out on each side. What do you guys think of that? That one's the one that really jumped out at me. It's called the SimuCube Meej Mount Dashboard, $400.
I have not seen. I'll try to pull it up real quick.
It's a lot for buttons, $400, but it gives you that carbon fiber dash on either side of your wheelbase, you know. Which I don't think that would work for me because I do have a monitor with timing and scoring down below, and it would certainly block that. It would also block my keyboard from where I currently have it. So I'm not sure I'm a fan personally of the dashes that go, you know, left and right side. But if you are, I mean, this is definitely high end looking.
My DSDs are both on the sides, and it's very handy, especially when you're in VR.
Yeah, look at that huge knob over on the left for the, like, was that brake bias or something? Yeah, check their stuff out. It's pretty cool. All right, let's keep moving. David, we got a new video card, the AMD 5600 XT.
So, according to our little synopsis here, it may be the quickest card to come to the market after being announced, but it all had to do with a last minute change because of Nvidia, and I'm not sure exactly what that means. I didn't catch this video yet, but when I glanced it, what was peculiar was all of his benchmarks. None of them had the 20 series cards on there. It was comparing almost all of them to 1680 Ti's.
Yeah, this is a
So
lower end card, and it's going to have a lower end price point. So, yeah, keep that in mind. But his synopsis over at Jay's 2 cents was, I wouldn't buy this card just yet, and he talks about why. Some of his reasoning was the outputs for display, like it did, like it has a mix of different ones. It's got the DVI, it's got the display port, it's got an HDMI. When other cards that are at the same price have like all DVI and one HDMI, you know, just little things like that. As far as performance versus price, there are some other cards around that price point that are kind of similar, so that's what he was saying. But AMD, you know, put something out and nobody likes it. Well, that's what I caught from that anyway. Let's talk another product that might have had some trouble. The Sim Magic direct drive wheel that we've been talking about. We actually have seen it in the wild now. We got a review on YouTube. David.
yes, I actually watched quite a bit of this video, and the guy mostly threw his hardware review of it and started to do some of his sim review. He had some positive things to say, uh, but he had a hardware failure. And he clarifies himself. He puts out a video saying he's not gonna be able to finish the review until he gets with the guy that loaned him the device to kind of get it repaired. So he did not completely review as far as how it works and all the software. And it is pretty important to point out, as he does, that this can happen with any of the companies. Mike, your first podium didn't run so great, if you recall. So it can happen with all of them. It's just really unlucky for the guys to have the hardware failure when you're having one of your influencers do a review.
Yeah, and this he put out two videos over 2 days. Boosted Media, we've talked about him before, but he his first video is just about the wheel itself, and he talked about how it was built, and it comes with a wheel and a base for $900, and which is a great price point for both of those things. But uh, one thing that kind of caught his eye was the back of the base. There were two screws that were in there that weren't like threaded into anything. They were just sitting there loose, and like when he turned it upside down, they just fell out. And so that was kind of a red flag. And then the second day, he put out a different video, and where he was going to do the actual software and whatnot. He said he filmed it, and then the wheel failed, and so he's at a hold, because of that. He also talked, David, about customer service and warranty, and that was also a big red flag.
Yeah, if you go back, I think the last time we were talking about a major Chinese product, I don't know if it was this one or not, but yeah, I'm a band director, and we religiously tell our kids to stay away from Chinese manufactured instruments for the same reason. Our local repair guys will not repair them. They can't get parts. Uh, my most recent experience with Chinese manufacturing has actually been at the gym. We have a bench, one of the gyms that they have these hydraulic benches because they're 24-hour gyms, and they want you to be able to bail out if you fell and can't get the weight off your chest. Uh, so they're hydraulic, and you can just push the lever and you fall down and a little bit lower. And one of those hydraulics has been broken now for 3 months, and they can't get the parts from China. Um, so all of my experience in completely two different worlds of business is service for anything manufactured in China is just doesn't have a history of being so great.
Yeah, Boosted Media went on to say that the customer service, they're not really going to offer any as a company, SimMagic. They're going to distribute to dealers, and dealers will offer customer service, but they will have no customer service. And from it sounds like, reading between the lines, there's no warranty either.
And what do you
And
do if you buy from a dealer and that dealer's out of business in 3 months?
right. And reading between the lines, there's no warranty either. So even though the price is 900, yeah, I still think it's buyer beware here. Well, all right, let's keep moving. David, we got new pedals.
Thrustmaster, load cell, go.
Wow.
Yeah, there's Thrustmasters that starting a load cell pedal. So Thrustmaster runs about almost the same, kind of considered almost the same level as Logitech, right? Kind of your lower, more entry level wheels.
Entry level, yep.
Um, so they're stepping the game up a little. I don't know if they're just deciding that that's going to be the entry level now, or if they're moving into higher end products.
Well, price says it's going to be $250. There's actual picture of the product in the box. Well, a picture of the box, and by Tuon Tron on the forums, and it's called the TLCM pedals by Thrustmaster. It says load cell and magnetic shifter of force, and I can't read it, but it says compatible with PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And as far as how they look, it's got a nice metal plate, for the heel. That's kind of built in. It's all kind of a base, floor standing. You don't have to mount them. You just like sit it on the floor. Three pedals. They have metal, pretty wide. They look pretty nice for, a $250 item.
That's interesting, though. With that particular base, uh, how would you mount them? I don't really see a place to place any holes.
They're probably like the G29 pedals. There's probably mounting nuts on the bottom side so you
Yeah.
have to basically go through a floor plate or floorboard to get into them. Um, yeah, I think they're nice looking pedals, good price point. Um, it'd be nice to see some of the entry level stuff get this trickle down of technology and kind of make sim racing better as a whole.
Well, that price is about what, $50 cheaper than the V3s, or did the V3s go up a lot?
I don't know where they're at this point. The ones that vibrate and all that.
Yeah, when I bought them, they were 300, but that was a
I
couple of years ago.
I think they've gone up. I know that's about what they were. Yeah, they are 360 now, but by the time you get the extra spring kit for it, and if you go with the hydraulic damper, you're going to be closer to the 400 price point. I don't think you need the damper, but I would 100% recommend the spring mod kit. So there's a $100 gap there. That's leaves room for Thrustmaster to thrive if they could keep that price point.
Okay. Next up, company review. Another new company we've never seen before. This one is GeForceFactory.com. And they sell sim cockpits for flight or racing. And their thing is the seat and pedals and everything are sitting on a thing that looks like an accordion, I guess is what it looks like. Like a
That could
musical
almost be a
instrument, right?
motion rig.
Yeah, it's a motion rig, and they got an accordion-looking fabric or something on each side that kind of hides the internals, I guess. But that accordion fabric stuff allows the movement, right? For it to go up and down and that kind of thing. So kind of a different design we haven't seen. The other thing is it's kind of condensed. It's like on a square. They got the seat on the square, and then the pedals are almost hanging off of the square because the square is so small.
It looks like it almost takes up less space than my non-monitored SimLabs rig. It's very compact, and that's a good presentation on that rig. It's all nice and neat and organized.
My concern is the steering wheel deck and the mounts that hold it and stuff. I mean, they're metal, but they're not like 80/20 metal, and I just wonder if there's flex there.
Yeah, that could be that it's just a platform hanging out there, right?
Yeah, and I mentioned my Fanatec and my Obutto Revolution cockpit. It's a real thin piece of metal that I have it mounted to, and there is some flex. If I lift on the wheel or pull down on the wheel, it will move a few millimeters each way, and that's kind of annoying. And it kind of makes me want to get an 80/20 rig to not have that move at all. But first world problems, right?
You better sell that video card first.
I didn't see a price. Oh yeah, it said starting at 8,000 euros for this thing. So pricing, I'm not impressed. I haven't seen any videos yet of it, but yeah, we can do better on pricing, I think. They're out of Netherlands, it looks like. All right, and then finally, God, nobody will buy my video card. Last night, I had a local guy contact me through Facebook Marketplace. I have it for sale for 450. He said, "Hey, will you take 400?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, I'll be there. Where do you want to meet?" I said, "Circle K by my house." He said, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'm on the way." And then I never heard from him again. So somebody, some listener, please, please buy my video card. I'm going to lower the price on this show to $400 shipped. So if you want it, it's yours. It is in perfect condition. It works. It just came off the bench from the manufacturer, and it works. So buy yourself a 1080 Ti, guys. 400 bucks. All right, let's talk results. Let's see. I ran hosted, and I've had some strange, I don't know if it's strange luck, but I've been running Daytona Pickup Cup and Daytona Carb Cup. And guess what, guys? I've had 4 in a row wins in the last few days. In fact, right before this recording, I tried to get my 5th win in a row. And I was on the grid. I got the pole. I was on the grid, and I couldn't shift into first because I heard the USB disconnect sound, and somehow my wheel screwed up, and I had to actually reboot and leave the race. So I don't know what's wrong with my wheel, but I didn't start the race, so I'm not going to count that as my fifth attempt. I think tonight I'll try it again and try to get 5 wins in a row.
That's pretty crazy. Greg and I both did go ahead and run Watkins Glen Monday in the Winter Series. That was his first time back in a while. He's been under the weather for quite a few weeks. We both wrecked out. I don't remember why he did. I just got loose. It's one of those things that's been a disadvantage for me in the series is that yeah those guys are beasts and they're way better than me. But also almost every like on all the NIS stuff, I run 2 or 3 A opens as my practice. Whereas here, I basically showed up and ran the 15-minute practice, and that's probably not enough practice to really get good at it. And I pushed it too hard coming off of turn one and spun it into the wall.
And a tough break for Greg. I mean, I think it was his first time back in a month, I think, in the car. I think, Will, you might have told him that the brake pedal's in the middle. I mean, just so he wouldn't forget. But anyway, I was watching his stream, and yeah, he was coming up through the S's and or through the turn 2, 3 there where it gets all narrow up onto the backstretch. But anyway, it just came out from underneath him, and it turned him right into the nose into the wall, and I don't think he could have saved it. But I don't know what went wrong there. He caught the curb wrong or something.
Yeah, that set with the Tire 7 model or V7 tire was definitely on the slippery side, especially if you'd spent an entire weekend running the 24.
With all the downforce, yeah. All right, that's it. Let's get into final thoughts. David Hall.
Watch my stream, twitch.tv/mixmage. Getting a lot of good interaction, starting to have regulars and have some fun conversations. Especially when I'm on the road, I have straightaways where I can easily have chats with you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm loving the stream. In fact, we're streaming this recording right now. We've had some listener interactions. Thanks to Chris Overland for the question. For Justin Melillo, our special guest who came on. And then Jason Pablo Escobar said, good day from down under, fellas. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work. So howdy to you out there, Jason. Hope you guys are doing good in the fires out there. Will Gibson, final thoughts.
I just want to do a quick shout out to another Twitch stream, Battery Acid 94. I been kind of sick the last few weeks, and I've been off iRacing, but my dad's been on, and somebody posted their Twitch in the iRacing chat. So my dad sent me a picture, said, "Hey, I'm racing." So I watched one of my dad's races, the IndyCar Fixed at Talladega this week, through this other guy's stream, and very entertaining to watch. At one point, my dad does a pretty stupid block, and someone gets on chat and kind of calls him out on it. I never showed him how to turn chat on, so he couldn't hear it, but I could hear it through this other guy's stream, so I clipped that. And at one point, the main driver said that blue car up there is going to cause a big wreck, and he didn't. My dad was in the blue car, but watched him finish second from another person's point of view, and I sent him those clips of like, "Hey man, you gotta ease up a little bit," but his attitude's, "Hey man, I'm racing." So his I rating is now within about 100 of mine, so I need to get up on the wheel and start grinding. I know I plan on trying to get a start every week in NIS and try to gain my I rating that way, and I'm gonna try to get some starts at the Silverstone National in the K&N car tomorrow, and try to get on that grind for a little bit. Can't have him catch me.
I think you need to get him going on chat, man. Let him tell those guys what he thinks.
He'll get kicked out. No, he's not too bad. He was like, when I sent him the clip, he's like, I only blocked him going up, and he kind of drifts the guy to the wall. Then the guy goes to pass him on the inside of the back straight, and my dad drifts right back down, and I don't think he realized he was there. They did do a 0x contact, but it's just funny watching from somebody else's point of view. If I was the guy streaming, I would have thought that blue car was gonna wreck too. So it's just entertaining, fun to watch a race from a different point of view.
All right, cool. Yeah, my final thoughts. Thanks to Justin Malillo for coming on. Again, he provides us so much content regarding the eNASCAR series and what happens, and he's always the first to report breaking news, who's joining what team and that kind of thing. He's all over it, and he is definitely the go-to source. So we're so happy to have him on to talk about it. We did run a little long today, and I thought it was worth it to have him stay a little bit longer and go over that stuff with us. So thank you to him. Next week, we're already booked with James Pike. He's been on the show before. He is the announcer over at Podium Esports, and he does the play-by-play. He's going to be here to tell us about what's going on with his Daytona 500 with Podium Esports. That's probably the most popular 500 going on outside of the official racing. So we'll see how that goes. Excited about prospects of the team and what we're going to accomplish this year with the Road to Pro. We got a couple guys, maybe 3 that are going to run that have the right kind of iRating to probably make a difference, and we're going to get behind them. And feels like we have good momentum. Man, I've had 4 wins in a row. How about that? My confidence can't be higher for Daytona 500. I'm just ready, ready, ready. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to get as many starts as I can, and I'm going to win that baby. So with that, we'll see you on the track. Later. All right, clear. Title
User in
ideas.
your channel stopped recording.
Shit, I forgot all about titles.
We already got 4. I like number 1.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah, definitely.
All right, so we'll go with that. You already wrote the thing. Awesome. Thank you.
Mike, the skit or the paint is up there for the uniforms. You have to put it in iRacing or trading paints if you want it to show up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll grab it. All right,
Did
thanks
you
for
see it,
coming,
Will?
guys. I think I'm bringing on a new team member too, by the way.
Good, good.
We had a guy petition us, I don't know, a week or 2 ago, and I think I've made the decision to bring him on. I forget his name. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, be aware. I think we just need a few more people on the show. I mean, we keep adding team members, but we don't have people, coming on a regular basis.
Have we ever thought to reach out to the community for people who want to be on the show on a regular basis? I know we kind of been on a call for drivers and setup stuff, but I don't think we've ever had an announcement for somebody to be on to just do the show or to do racing plus the show on a regular basis.
I think we did it once, and it was Mason we ended up with, and he was the editor for a while. But yeah, I mean, if we do advertise it, I think you're right. We need to kind of push that because the guys we come on, we're bringing on, they're on for a while, and then they just kind of disappear, from the show, which is a bummer. But anyway, I'm gonna get some more warm bodies.
Yeah, I could do my final thoughts next week and bring it up. I enjoy doing it just because it helps me with public speaking, and it's a good group of guys. And I feel like I write better now because I edit the script, and it's I just do it for fun, but it's also life skills that are good to have, and it's a good group of guys to do it with.
Yeah, I'm glad
And
you're here. Yeah.
I like being behind the mic because I'm a performer.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of advantages for the show to have this show, but yeah.
Be cool if we could ever get where we can get a hard card.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to see if I could do something to get into the Hall of Fame when they did the media day. I know there wasn't much timeline because I'm so close to it. That would have been awesome, but
Oh, here's another thing, Mike. Seriously, I want to try to do a get together in Phoenix if we can in the fall.
Yeah, for the fall.
But